My friend, welcome back to this Operation Greatness Freeing the Matrix Parasite Cleansed Action Pod number 44. This is Good versus Evil Part 4. We are exposing evil and ending its reign of terror. This is a big order of magnitude shift for every one of us by all of us owning our power, standing in our power, and commanding our destiny. Make sure that you are joining us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind because this is where we're speaking freely about everything that we are uncovering, we're seeing, and we're discovering about ourselves because this is the fundamental duty that every one of us has in exposing evil and ending its reign of terror. So we're doing this together with all of us leading, inspiring, transforming, and liberating LITL, every one of our online friends doing a little more today in being of greater service. This is the higher purpose of your life as well as every one of our lives. And it's why we're all interconnected through social media. Because right here, you can reach every one of your online friends very quickly with almost no time, energy, thought, or effort. So do that. So, right from the beginning here, take notes on what you're hearing, pause and reflect on each point in this action pod number 44, Good versus Evil Part 4. Relate it to your life, see how you are becoming strong and you're stepping up and owning your responsibility to be of greater service and to stop evil. I mean, you know that old quote, I think, is it from Edmund Burke? I'm not for sure about that as I recall this, but I think the quote is the only thing necessary for tyranny to take over is for good men to do nothing, right? Have we seen anyone stopping evil, tyranny, the globalist takeover? I call it the attempted totalitarian takeover that began with what I call Fraud 1.0 back in March of 2020. And yet it was planned, you know that, right? It was planned decades before then. I mean, some of the patents for the quote vaccine were made. I think I saw one that was from 1998. And anyway, you know, Event 201 was like a year before. It was in 2019 sometime. And that was like the rehearsal for Fraud 1.0 for the C word. And I don't even know if you can still say it. I think you can say it without being overtly oppressed, except now they move from overt oppression to, well, they call it throttling. It means if you're a source of freedom, liberation, exposure of evil, then no one sees what you're posting. I mean, do you want me to show you that in live real time? I haven't gone to my, I don't know. It didn't, no, I posted one thing on Twitter today, but I didn't look at what was the results. If you're watching this video, that's where you're seeing this more clearly because I'm creating this as a video. That's for everyone leading their own Operation Greatness chapters in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. You get the video instead of the audio from the podcast. So let's see. Oh, really? I had a big purge of followers. I had 183,900 and I don't know, it's been varying between 20, 30, some and now I guess Twitter did something, X, I mean, did something to change. Anyway, whatever. I lost a bunch of followers, like a lot. And okay, but let's see, like, okay, so out of 183,793 followers right now, if if I had a 99% oppression level, meaning because if it's a fair world, then everyone who requested my posts would get them, and each post would get 183,793 views, right? I mean, that's pretty obvious. And yet, if it was 99% of the people asking for my posts, not getting them, they were blocked, that would mean each post would get 1,837 views, right? 1,838 views if we round up. And so the average post with a 1% freedom get level, if Twitter X were free, a free speech platform as it proclaims itself to be, then each post with just 1% level of freedom would get 1,838 posts, right? And yet my pinned post that was from, when was that? 2 days ago, I guess. That has gotten 3.1 thousand views. Let's see how many that is. 3,804 views. Okay. So 3,800. So 1,840 or 38 would be just 1% of the 183,793 people, right? So 3,800 is what? 1,838 times 2 would be what? 3,640. So 38. So it's little less than 98% oppression level. That's pretty high because, like, let's look at the post from, well, let's see, 14 minutes ago, I posted about our podcast, and that's had 38 views. That's a little too quick to use as a comparison. What about 14 hours ago? I posted, actually, this was my last podcast, our podcast, Good versus Evil Part 3, and that only received 183 views from 14 hours ago. That was last night. So 183 views, let's go back to the top here. 183 views, that's like the mathematical, that's a 99.9% oppression level. Pretty interesting, right? So that's how, I mean, and I'm only using Twitter X as the example because they're the only ones I know who show the number of views, and then we can calculate the oppression level. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, TikTok. I mean, I don't use TikTok, but my virtual assistant does, somebody on my team does, and YouTube, I mean, YouTube shows views and Rumble shows views. Anyway, we can calculate the oppression level on X, and we can't on any of the others that I know, other than YouTube and Rumble, and I guess that's the only two that I use personally. But that's, well, we have to expose evil before we can stop it. So we're exposing that. So let's go back to even, well, okay, so let's talk about the poisoning in the air. You're well aware of that, right? The chemtrails. And I don't know if this is true or not. It's been posted around Facebook, is where I've seen it, actually, not even on X, that President Trump created a chemtrail task force, and it's been said that these people, I mean, in the task force, have been charged with arresting the people responsible for spraying heavy metals in our air, in the atmosphere, and then it all trickles down. And I mean, if you don't believe that that's real, then I encourage you to go to geoengineeringwatch.org and look at the interview that Bobby Kennedy Jr. did with the founder and creator of geoengineeringwatch.org. His name is Dane, and I think it's like Wigington. It's not an easy name for me to remember. Bobby Kennedy Jr. interviews him on Bobby's podcast, and it's irrefutable that this is happening, and Bobby knows about it himself, and he's talking openly and accepting what Dane is saying on there. He's pushing back a little in certain places, which is kind of interesting. And this was, I think, when Bobby was running for president, this happened, and he was a Democrat then, as you know. And before the Democratic National Communist Party just totally, well, dishonored and disrespected him and treated him without the due respect of any viable candidate because they were all banking on their globalist puppet, Joe Biden. And then he was seen by too many people. He was exposed, exposing evil, ending its reign of terror. Joe Biden was just a corrupt fraud since the beginning of his reign of terror. And anyway, you know all of this if you're intelligent and aware and awake, right? So, and then so they just threw him under the bus and they disposed of him because he was a useful idiot and his usefulness had ended. So then this was without any democratic process. It was just the communist regime at the top, that they just made their own choice and they accept what's his name? Joe Biden, Communist Joe. He actually helped President Trump by essentially forcing their hand to use Kamala as their next puppet. There's a very interesting video that I saw that was exposing this, and I think it was a Tucker Carlson interview, and it was with some Washington insider, I think, and Tucker was like, "Really?" And he shared on this Tucker interview, I saw like a segment of it, that this gentleman, I don't remember his name, I had not heard of him before. He was sharing how Joe Biden he basically forced the Democratic National Communist Party's hand to go with Kamala because I think Joe Biden knew how much of a failure she would be, how unlikable she was, how she was drunk. And I mean, they didn't say, none of that was what they were saying in the interview. That's my own interpretation of what they're saying. Anyway, the it was really interesting. And Tucker was like surprised. He didn't know about that, I think. And I didn't know about it either. And yet, the way he postured this, it was almost like they had no choice but to choose. It's supposed to be a democratically elected nomination, and yet no one voted for her at all. She was just imposed on the party and then the people of that party who were the manipulated ones. I mean, all of us are stepping up and stopping that now. We're exposing evil, and yet before we can stop it, we're exposing it. And so we're focusing on the disclosure now, and all of us are coming together and we're stopping evil through becoming part of our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. You're doing that, right? And you're leading, inspiring, transforming, and liberating everyone you are blessed to be able to serve, right? So let me just share with you. So you know about the chemtrails in the air, they're polluting the air. And if in that video with Bobby Kennedy Jr. interviewing Dane Wigington, if that's his last name, it's kind of close to that, at geoengineeringwatch.org, Dane is saying, like, he lives near a lake in Mount Shasta area of Northern California, I think. I don't know how close it is to Mount Shasta. And because I don't remember any lakes near there, but I guess, I mean, maybe within, whatever, 20 miles or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think he used to manage that lake, or maybe he does now still. And he would measure the amount of, I mean, the pollution in the water because of the chemtrails. And he's saying even like in the trees that there's so much heavy metal pollution from the chemtrails falling on the trees that the trees are unable to breathe. I mean, to me, that's like an environmental red flag. Like, wow, our trees are not able to breathe. Can they survive? Are we killing off our trees by poisoning the atmosphere? I mean, and this is all intentional. You know, they're doing this on purpose. I thought it was to destroy us, to make us weaker, and or to control the weather. And anyway, I mean, it's evil, and we must expose it and stop it. And that's what we're doing together, each of us. I mean, it's incumbent upon you as a responsible caretaker for planet Earth to be the leader in your community and make sure that your community is blocking the chemtrail poisoning of our air, and yet also that your community is not poisoning the water with well, no, with, I almost said caffeine. That's another poison that we're going to talk about shortly, that that your community is not poisoning everyone in the community with fluoride and chlorine. Fluoride is, do you know how poisonous that is? I mean, I had my own personal experience. I've been a responsible person. I hope you have been a responsible person as well, and you're not buying any deodorant with aluminum in it. I mean, seriously, did you even have any idea that aluminum was in deodorant? It's like, what? Are you kidding me? How is that even a thing? And yet, I mean, when I first learned about that exposure, when I was exposed to that knowledge of evil, I don't know, let's say that was about 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. Now, that was when I was dating the Italian woman, my Italian lover, and she was the one who made me aware of that. And so then ever since then, I made sure to buy deodorant that isn't poisoning me. I mean, what? Do you have to worry about deodorant? How is that? Because it absorbs right directly under your arms. And I wasn't aware of that because that's another area where evil had dominated us, oppressed us without many people even knowing about it. Now you can be responsible if you haven't been before. And I mean, so fluoride in the toothpaste, I hope you're not exposing yourself to that because you are responsible and you've known about that for decades or many years. I mean, it was probably that same Italian lover who let me know about fluoride. I didn't know about it before. That she helped me have my dawning of awareness, and that was probably 8 years ago now. Anyway, make sure that you're not using any toothpaste with fluoride in it. And when you go to the dentist, make sure they're not giving you that poison either. And I've asked the dentist about it, and they get their information from the whatever, the dental, it's been bought and paid for by evil. So dentists are doing the work of evil. And I mean, a lot of dentists have become aware of this, awake to that, and they're like the holistic dental practitioners. And I don't know. I believe in their integrity and their honor, but each one might be different. I don't know. But anyway, I went to the dentist one time, and this was probably, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, maybe. And I wasn't using fluoride for a long time before that, I think. And when I knew about it, then I stopped it. I wasn't going to expose myself to this poison, of course, right? Just and yet are you exposing yourself to it in the water? So make sure that you are the leader of your community and you're getting educated yourself and you're exposing evil yourself in your local community and you're stopping it. You're speaking, you're organizing rallies and you're getting everyone aware of this and you're getting the newspapers to expose this too. And I mean, this is so well documented. There's hundreds of articles you can read online, and then people would say, "Oh, they're not credible articles," and then they'll have all these counterpoints. Well, I mean, we got to do this research together, so we're doing this in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind, and more so, this is part of you leading your own Operation Greatness chapter in your community. That's where we're focusing on being that inspired visionary leader in our community and leading everyone through making these choices themselves, exposing evil and stopping it. Because all of us are stepping up, we're awakening to our power, which is beyond measure, and we're stopping evil everywhere it still remains. We are shining our light as brightly as the sun, dispelling the darkness anywhere it had still remained. We're stopping evil's reign of terror by working together. And that's with you leading your own Operation Greatness chapter, which is a separate area of our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. So you want to for sure join us in our Freeing the Matrix mastermind, and you even want to become parasite cleansed. Become parasite cleansed. That's where we go through a comprehensive process where we're doing I'm still doing this myself. On what's today? When Thursday? It's Thursday today, and I started this last week Saturday. Actually, it started at Saturday morning, and I've been even starting it before then, like maybe a few weeks before. Maybe I don't know. It's been a while now. It's an ongoing process, and every one of us must do the parasite cleansed, must become parasite cleansed. This is the rite of passage. It's required of every one of us. And that's another part of our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. You definitely need to become parasite cleansed. So, like for example, well, we mentioned fluoride. Okay, I started to share like when I went to the dentist one time, and I am responsible, and for my health, I mean, only you are responsible for your health. You do know that, and you're taking 100% responsibility for your health, your success, your happiness, your fulfillment, your family, your community, your country. I mean, ultimately, all of this is your responsibility. It's the responsibility of every one of us to live rightly and to be of greater service and to share our gifts with the world. And that, we'll talk about that shortly too. That's the main way evil has, well, destroyed us, is the word that comes to mind, has harmed us, hindered us, limited us, done its dirty work, oppressed us, controlled us, limited us. It is, I guess, that's the word I like to use, because of its work, its pervasiveness, its level of control. That it's up to every one of us to step out of that, to become parasite cleansed. Make sure that you're doing that parasite cleanse. It's pervasive, it's all encompassing, it's comprehensive, and to be for you to become parasite cleansed, I consider it mandatory for every one of us to become parasite cleansed. And that's its own special section of our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. So, this one time that I went to the dentist, and it's not a holistic dentist, I don't know that there are any in my area by Sedona. I mean, the Italian lover would go down to Phoenix and use a holistic dentist there. And she was very serious about this, and she was so much more sensitive than I was. I mean, like I was still addicted to sugar back then, and so we would make tea, and she would take, like she had an eyedropper full of stevia. That was when we still thought stevia was a safe alternative to sugar before we learned it's not. That's just evil extending its tentacles even in that area. And anyway, so like to sweeten our tea, she would just use one or maybe two drops of stevia from the eyedropper, and it was concentrated stevia, where I don't remember the ratio. Was it, I don't know, 12 drops was like 1 teaspoon of sugar? I don't know if that's right. Anyway, I would need like 12 or 16 or 20 drops myself because she was, and one or two drops, that was enough for her. She had that level of sensitivity because she wasn't exposing herself to toxins. She wasn't poisoning herself as I was back then. And anyway, like she could tell if she had any gluten, it would she would feel the effects of that for like about 3 or 4 weeks. I think maybe even 30 days. That was really interesting to see her level of sensitivity. Notice the difference here when you are removing the toxins from your life, when you are living more naturally and in your center, not allowing yourself to be poisoned by evil, to be a product of evil instead of God or good, then you expand your awareness, you're more sensitive, you're more in tune, in alignment with nature, with the currency of life, and you're not obstructing yourself, you're not limiting yourself, you're not playing small, you're fulfilling and honoring you and your divine design, duty, destiny, dharma. And that means everything. So that's the direction every one of us must move now, unless we're going to allow evil to completely destroy us. And you know the 2030 agenda of the World Economic Forum, right? I mean, that's the main agency of evil. Well, the CIA is what probably has fed that or created and organized that. And then that, the World Economic Forum, organized all of the countries in the world to get on board with their agenda to take over, the attempted totalitarian takeover, and then all of the systems of the government. I mean, like if you want to see something really shocking, look for a video of Mike Benz, Benz. It's really amazing to see this. It's very eye-opening. I mean, we're going to expose all of this in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind, and this is where we're exposing evil and we're stopping it. And yet, Mike Benz was giving a talk to, oh, what's it called? It's one of the honorable institutions, colleges on our planet, the few that are not doing the work of evil. And this is the one in Michigan, I think. It's not, oh, I don't remember the name of it right now. It's, anyway, they send like this newsletter in the mail, and you might get that because it's pretty well advertised. If you're among the responsible, the awake, the conscious among us, and I'm sure you are, and you're, of course, joining us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. And yet, anyway, Mike Benz is delivering this speech to this group at this college, this respectable college. It's more of a conservative Christian college. And he's saying that the State Department is really the enforcement arm of the CIA, and they are involved in 140 countries in the world at that time. And he gave this speech, I don't remember if it was 8 years ago or how long ago it was. It wasn't a current speech, and yet, I mean, it's just gotten so much worse back then. And anyway, he's talking about how he's exposing evil. He's talking about how the, like, let's say the embassy, I don't know if that's really what it was in each of these countries, as the headquarters of the CIA infiltration through the State Department of these countries. And it started back in, I think, 1940 or 1938, when, like, Italy was being taken over by Mussolini and the communists, and we saw that as a threat to us. So they thought maybe this was after World War II. I don't know if I'm getting the exact, I don't know, from the details of this Mike Benn speech, but anyway, we started to No, it was about communism. So maybe it was after World War II. So maybe I must have got the timeline wrong on there. I don't know. But anyway, the principle is what matters more than the specific details of that. But yeah, Italy was thinking about becoming communist because, the two global superpowers were positioning for control, and, Russia, the Soviet Union were. Anyway, this was when the world was becoming more communist, and I mean, it was a very real confrontation or infiltration of communism. And well, I mean, the Democratic National Communist Party is the prime mover of that in our country now. And well, really, the elite, quote unquote, the parasites is what they are. They call themselves elites, but they're predators. They are the ones that are, I mean, the globalists. Anyway, I mean, all of this is so important that you have to educate yourself on this, and we're doing this together through freeingthematrix.com. Join us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind for sure. And so let me just finish this story about when I went to the dentist and I said, don't use any fluoride. And they put that on my record. And somehow the woman, I don't know if she forgot or she just did it automatically because she's used to poisoning everyone, the dental hygienist. And she put a little fluoride, like probably on one of those little, whatever, like a Q-tip or something. And she put it in my mouth. And I noticed it immediately. I had been in samadhi for like 2.5 days. Like I wasn't touching the ground. I mean, it felt like I was like in the clouds, like I was in a no mind state, and like a deep meditation. And like for 2.5 days before then, and just that little swab of fluoride in my mouth absorbed into my skin, that took me out of that state immediately. And I'm getting chills here just reflecting on that. Anyway, I mean, that was my own experience, my own direct experience of fluoride poisoning. I mean, if it does that to me in that elevated consciousness, what is that doing to everyone else every day when they're drinking their tap water? I mean, anyway, we need you stepping up and making sure that your community is banning the poisoning of its residents through the water supply, and that no one is able to poison the people and the plants and the trees over your air in your community, and do this at the county level too and the state level. Anyway, we need every one of us working together now. We're exposing the evil and we're stopping it. And we need you doing this with us. So join us in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind and lead your own Operation Greatness chapter in your community as well as among all your friends. So go back to the beginning of this Operation Greatness Good versus Evil Action Pod Part 4 and post about everything. Take each insight that I'm sharing with you, post about it, and lead, inspire, transform, and liberate every one of your online friends through your link. Use your invite people link that you got in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind on the about page. Use that as you are getting all of your online friends doing this themselves and leading all of their online friends. That's how we are stopping evil. It's happening through you doing this in your life and doing this with and for everyone connected with you, everyone you are blessed to be able to serve. And this is your greatest contribution to the world. How does all this feel? Any questions about this? We'll talk about this in our freeingthematrix.com mastermind. Thank you. Thank you very much. I love you. I believe in you. I know how much you matter. Go out there and do me proud. Thank you.